104 pounds and stands 5 feet 8 inches tall. Tonight he is making his amateur debut, fighting out of the PFA in Lethbridge, Alberta, Luke Vaillancourt. And his opponent, fighting out of the red corner, he weighed in at 128.6 pounds and stands 5 feet 7 inches tall with an amateur record of 3 wins and 3 losses. Fighting out of Kingdom MMA in Edmonton, Alberta, Mitch Wiles.
Now, since the last time we were here, they kind of made it all open, I guess, so all open amateur MMA, so there will be ground and pound, to my knowledge, and so that changes the dynamic of the fight a little bit.
We're off to the races. Wiles,
oh, wow,
these guys are wild right off the get-go. They are throwing down in the center of the cage.
Wiles getting after it. A little bit of a slow start from Luke Vaillancourt, and Wiles bringing him to the cage, looking for that outside single, transitioning to the double. Problem is, he's too high. But he gets that inside trip, nice little gamemanship there. And look, he's transitioning kind of up onto one side, almost looking for like a body lock style pass. Luke Vaillancourt looking for like a rubber guard slash, type guard, but it's tough when that one leg is pinned in the butterfly. Beautiful transition here from Mitch Wiles to the back, and looks like it might be sunk. He has the one arm underneath the chin, but he doesn't have his hands clasped.
Wiles advancing his position, attacking now, looking for the rear choke.
And softening him up with punches. That's the difference with this. Like we said, this now being open, those ground and pound strikes can change the dynamic. Just because you have poofy gloves doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. And Luke Vaillancourt doing the classic Heinzman, trying to just the Derek Lewis, I'm going to stand up. And it's kind of tough when you are not gigantic. Pushing off the cage there. He's got to watch his arm as he's extending there.
Wiles continues to dominate in this advantageous position, targeting the side of the head. Vaillancourt, who seems bewildered at this point.
Well, look at that far arm trap that's happening. We call it the handcuff. We watched Habib Nurmagomedov really good at it. And that stops any rotation on the bottom. And these strikes are almost at the point where you think that ref is kind of like looking at this if he should stop it, because there's not a whole lot of offense coming from, or defense coming from Luke Vaillancourt, unfortunately.
But as we know, a lot of those guys that come from the Thai boxing gym, they're down with getting hit.
Yeah, that's true, and a lot of slow starting, unfortunately. But you can't start slow here and not be okay with getting hit too much here. His back of his head and neck is against the cage, which is going to prevent him from really being able to posture up, get a good bridge, and stop these punches from happening.
Wiles really in cruise control, can take his time, error-free at this point.
No pressure, really. He's just taking his time. He's low on the hips, so he feels every movement that Luke Vaillancourt gives. So, it makes it hard for Luke Vaillancourt to get going.
Referee Luke Boutin right on top of the action. Final seconds of round number 1. A round dominated by Mitch Wiles.
Yeah, he got right after it, right off the hop, and really set the tone. And I don't think Vaillancourt was really able to get going in that round. And by the time he did, he was already on the ground in defense mode.
Near perfect round for Mitch Wiles as he landed some significant strikes in the center of the cage and then managed to get the trip takedown, and from there dominated for the rest of the round.
Yeah, really keeping good top pressure without really committing too much. And right here we see him, he takes the back, almost a body triangle. By doing that far hand grab, that handcuff allows him to punch. It stops Vaillancourt from rotating away, so he has to give up more of his back, which allows Mitch Wiles to really give that good chest on back pressure, which is going to lead to him being able to sink in the choke or continue to strike. In this instance, you just have to, if you are Brad Wall from PFA, you are telling your fighter you have to get going in this round. You have to do something defining because the last round was less than perfect.
Is the goal just stay off the cage? That's one of the things you're telling your fighter?
If you've done some research on Mitch Wiles, definitely. He's good at getting those takedowns off the cage. He transitioned from that outside single to the double, and as we saw, when that didn't work, he went to the inside trip. So really, it's about setting that standard. Mitch Wiles took the center and set the standard. Luke Vaillancourt has to do that. He has to be first. See, and we see that difference. He's throwing strikes. And Mitch Wiles is, oh, beautiful left hook there.
Vaillancourt scoring, but Wiles pushing Vaillancourt up against the cage once again.
Double underhooks here, looking to lock those hands, potentially for another trip takedown. Transitioning to the close side. You can see here he's controlling the wrist really well, which is going to open up that far side for an inside trip again with good head pressure. Now, Vaillancourt's doing a good job of keeping him away from the strong side, which is his underhook. You can see right in there a nice little outside, facing outside single.
Vaillancourt thinking about using that cage to change his position.
The cage can either be your best friend or your biggest enemy. It depends how familiar you are with it. I know that Kingdom MMA, beautiful mount transition there from Mitch Wiles. Kingdom MMA, where Mitch Wiles trains, they have the cage set up. You know, they work in there, and that's what's going to set you apart. Familiarity allows you to really be able to try new things.
Is that something that you would be conscious about, using the cage in these positions?
If that's what your team specializes in. You know, for me, we didn't have a cage, you know, in the good old days. We just had wall mats, and we made it work, and that was a big part of the, like, this. If you take a look, Luke Vaillancourt looking for far side ankle lock. Now, I'm wondering if this legal, it might be a bit high on the bite right there, but his legs are threaded nicely looking at the far side. The only thing is he's on bottom, so it doesn't look good to the refs, I mean to the judges, and at the same time, he's not controlling the hip line, which allows Mitch Wiles to be able to stand up. And now look, he's getting crushed, and Mitch Wiles says, "How tastes your knee?"
It almost appeared like he was going for it just to create that second where he can get out, but he didn't take advantage of it.
It makes it tough because that transition movement that he was using is really good when you have twisting leg locks. Unfortunately, in amateur, you do not have those available, which means that, you know, unless you have a really good bite on your straight ankle lock, it's going to make it really tough. And from right here, I don't think Mitch Wiles really cares that he's putting pressure on the hip and knee of Luke Vaillancourt. So he's just going to stay here, stay on top. And according to the judges, it looks like he's doing all the work.
And with 35 seconds remaining in round two, if you're Mitch Wiles and you can end the round on top, I think that's what you want.
Exactly. The big thing, and look right here, transition to half guard, strong half guard, basing out. For me, I'd say he should be looking to kind of sit on that bottom half guard and continue to strike. He's had a lot of success with it, but he's looking to use his grappling acumen and keep that pressure down and look to pass.
Another dominant round two for Mitch Wiles.
But the difference is Luke Vaillancourt at least had some offense in this fight, and that, you know, that's a positive, you know. But you know, basically, if he wants any hope of winning this, he has to get a finish, which is going to be tough against a cagey amateur veteran and Mitch Wiles. And the thing is, too, is like first fight, you know, there's a lot of adrenaline that's happening. So we'll see how he comes out in this next round, because you know, that lactic acid builds up in your arms, maybe in your legs, for trying to transition into those leg locks.
Will we see Wiles turn up the tempo, considering he really has been in control? Now, I understand Vaillancourt has had his moments, but if you're the judges, there's a good chance that it's Wiles winning this fight.
We see here this transition into the foot lock, outside Senkaku, so outside triangle of the leg. Unfortunately, it makes it really tough to get the finish without the twisting leg lock section. No hip line coverage, which allows Mitch Wiles to be able to keep the pressure forward and keep his lead leg, which is being attacked, heavy, which keeps it from being hurt in the process of the leg lock. Now, for me, I'd be telling Mitch Wiles, steady pressure, keep an even tempo, keep doing what you're doing, there's nothing wrong. The finish will come, and then nearly let me know when you have a minute left, and you can go hard if you need to. Vaillancourt needs to do something heavy and defining in this round.
Vaillancourt, as we get set for round 3, will he be desperate? Will he go first? And he's trying to do something, but Wiles engaging, pushing Vaillancourt. Vaillancourt now manages to get that takedown, partially taking the back, but no.
No chest on back pressure, which allows Mitch Wiles to be able to peek his butt up and shake him off and come out on top. You know, good attempt, you know, he threw a good right uppercut, I believe, and a good knee and went for the takedown as Mitch Wiles was trying to transition to another takedown against the cage. But unfortunately, in those scrambles, the veteranship of Mitch Wiles comes out on top. And the grappling. The difference has been just the strong grappling, the strong wrestling style of grappling. Strong, heavy pressure on top, opening up. Now if I'm Luke Vaillancourt, he's looking to transition. He can't be straight in against the cage because that happens. Those heavy shots. You know, he's focusing too much on the head, on the overhook, and instead of getting head pressure. When Mitch Wiles has space to work with, that's when those big shots start happening. See, and now he can't hit you when he's so close to the body. But, you know, he's straight on, so he has pressure on his neck and head against the cage. Also, I think something that a lot of people forget is this rubber-edged cage does not feel good on the scalp back or otherwise. Big attempt there from Mitch Wiles as Luke kicks him off, but he needs to pop up a little quicker, which is easier said than done. It's easy to be like, oh, just stand up. It's never that easy. Folks at home, it's never that easy. And coaches that yell, just stand up, you are wrong. It is not that easy. Give me guidance. So in here, he's starting to look to cage lock. Referee Luc Boutin watching to make sure there's no toesies going in there.
And it's a best situation and a worse situation, depending on who you are. In this scenario, in the 3rd round, with less than a minute remaining in the fight.
Oh, I agree. The problem is, like, Mitch Wiles is kind of in a purgatory of sorts. Even record, decision wins. You know, he's winning this round, as we hear his corner say. But where does he go from here? You just beat a debut fighter with exciting moments, but on paper it doesn't look great where you're decisioning someone that is just making their debut. So he's it's tough. Where does he go from here, even if he's doing well? You know, and it's a tough situation for Luc Vaillancourt because you went against someone very experienced. Where do you go back to someone who's making their debut?
Right.
So, you know, he's had good moments in this fight, but I think he's just kind of outmatched just in terms of, you know, experience. A lot of gamemanship that Mitch Wiles really shows in these 3 rounds.
That is it. 3 rounds of amateur mixed martial arts inside the unified MMA cage. Good show of sportsmanship by Wiles.
It's an important thing, you know. You're not getting paid, so, you know, I think it's important to like show good sportsmanship even by going to their corner and standing on the cage, I guess. But you know, I think it's important. You know, that's what martial arts is about. And sometimes we focus on the fighting far too much and forget that mixed martial arts, the martial arts section of mixed martial arts. So. And this is what I like to see. Coaches getting along, you know, hard fight back and forth, but everyone is happy for each other, and I don't think anyone's too injured, which is another plus.
And I mean, the reality of the situation is if you're Wiles, you're now a better fighter because you faced Vaillancourt.
Yep.
You faced a guy that came to fight, that you were able to take advantage of certain positions that maybe you never got to take advantage of in your previous fights. You now have that information, that practical information that you may not have had before this contest.
Nothing beats, you know, going live against an opponent that's fighting back. The only thing is it's going to be tough, you know, finding more amateur fights, but you know, getting practice against live opponents it's important, and those minutes in the cage, they translate to that experience. As we saw today, the difference was experience. It made a huge difference. Luke had good moments, but you know, the experience played everything in this. Mitch Wiles being the better mixed martial artist. Maybe Luke's a better kickboxer or a better grappler, but Mitch Wiles was able to mix it up a lot better than Luke Vaillancourt.
Will we see Wiles make the leap from amateur to the pro ranks? Only time will tell as we will send it up to ring announcer Ryan Rothman.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a decision. Judge Ziad Harb scores at 30-26. Judge Jason Tatlow scores at 30-26. And Judge Andy Social scores at 30-26. All for the winner by unanimous decision, Mitch Wildboy Wiles.
No surprise there. Wild Boy, dominant